going to spend a lot. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into SIN Sunday Sideline Report. I am Mike Rifkin, joined today by Mark Halpern. Lawrence Patrick and Lang will join us in a few minutes. We're going to start with some news this week, and we're going to start with, I don't want to call it breaking news. It happened a couple of days ago, but Odell Beckham Jr. signs a one-year deal with the Los Angeles Rams of St. Louis. But to top it off, there is now a reason why Odell Beckham Jr. signed with the Los Angeles Rams of St. Louis, and that is Robert Woods tore his ACL on Friday. He will miss the remainder of the season. That is a big-time blow. But let's start with the Beckham side, then we can get into the Robert Woods story, Mark. Your initial reaction to the Rams signing of Odell Beckham Jr.?
Absolutely shocked. I did not have him going to the Rams. It looked like in the beginning the Packers were the front runners, but it looked like Belichick was trying to make his play for him. But ultimately, he ends up with the Rams, and he's now the number 2 technically. I mean, he might not know the playbook yet. It's going to take a few days, a few weeks to learn it all, but he's in the right place if he wants to win a Super Bowl right now. So, I mean, I'm just still glad he's not in the NFC East. So that works for me.
I mean, being in the NFC East, there's only one team to really go to if you want to win. But,
and I don't want him on the Cowboys.
Well, that's fine, and they don't really need it. But so for me, until we learn the Robert Woods injury, which we can get to in a few minutes, I was shocked also because the teams we talked about the Packers, and that one seemed really logical. We talked a lot about the Chiefs. That one seemed logical. We heard a lot about the Seahawks. I didn't understand the Seahawks from the level of I have Metcalf and I have Lockett. Mm-hmm. Do I really want to add Odell Beckham to that? Then we heard New England, and I didn't know if Bill Belichick would put up with him. And then we heard a lot about the Saints, and I was like, he's not going to go play with Trevor Siemian. That's not going to be a thing. And then the Rams kind of swoop in at the last minute and go, we're here. So that begs me on a couple of levels to think of a couple of things. He could say money played a factor, and that's fine, but the Browns are still paying him, so that doesn't make a difference here.
Right.
To me, he didn't want the pressure of being a number 1 anymore. Because if I go to Green Bay, Devontae Adams is the alpha male. These other teams don't have that. Kansas City, you got Hill and Kelsey. So that would have been, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go there. But with the year Cooper Kupp's having, he's leading the league in receiving. Yeah. And knowing the background of Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, who we'll get to in a second, they can have a bad game and be like, oh, the other guy was successful. I don't care. The team won.
Right.
I don't know if Odell Beckham's that kind of guy. That's hard for me to say because I don't dislike Odell Beckham. I don't.
I dislike Odell Beckham for, as I said before, 2 things. One, the catch at the Meadowlands, which was still the best catch ever made, and his touchdown dance of peeing on the crowd. That turned me off from him. But when you look at the years he had with, and I hate to say it, Eli Manning, he was a damn good receiver.
But you're right.
Yeah, he was number 1. There was no pressure anywhere. So he goes to Cleveland to possibly be that number 1, but you still got Jarvis Landry at that point. And he underperformed.
And I think the thing that hurt him in Cleveland was the coaching change because he got there, I think, under Kitchens. Stefanski comes in, and they want to run the ball. And we're going to talk about Cleveland in a little bit because massive game today. But they want to
blows out his ACL.
That's their plan.
Right. And then the following year, he blows out his ACL.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for him to showcase himself right now and say, well, if the Rams don't want to bring me back as number one, understood. Oh, wait, here's blah, blah, blah with a 5-year.
Well, that's the thing, because he's going to put himself back out on the market next year. This is a 1-year deal. So if he goes out and he plays well, he's got an opportunity to make another, I don't want to call it a major contract, but he could get a nice contract from someone next offseason. And I can tell you right now, there's going to be a line if he plays well. And there's a lot of teams who say, even if he doesn't, it may be a risk, but it could be worth the reward that he's in. Lawrence Patchman Lang joining us. Patchy, we're talking about Odell Beckham going to the Rams. Your Green Bay Packers were in on this. Are you upset, or are you generally okay with this?
It's, I would say maybe a win-lose situation for the Packers. Yeah, the ball was in your court to get Odell, where you could have put him with Lazard, Cobb, and Adams, and it's a wide receiver gold mine right there for the team. Aaron Rodgers have a field day probably with Odell, and Odell will be making more ridiculous one-hand catches in the end zone. But on the flip side, you don't get drama.
Right.
Odell stirs the pot of drama, and then his father's stirring his pot of drama for his son. It's kind of like LeVar Ball almost. You don't want that drama on the team. So good for the Rams. I'm okay with the Packers. You know what? It would have been great to add Odell, but at the end of the day, I'm okay with it.
And I also want to bring up the fact of he didn't want any quote unquote bad team to pick him up, but that's a whole nother conversation. We'll dive into Robert Woods because this is a bigger injury than I think people realize. Robert Woods on the year, 45 catches, 556 yards, 4 touchdowns, averages over 12 yards a catch. This is a big loss because Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, they're not the most dynamic duo in the NFL. They're not. But I think they're the best do-everything duo in the NFL. They catch the ball well. They get yards after the catch well. They block well. And we talked about this before. Robert Woods can have 3 catches for 34 yards. Cooper Kupp can have 9, $118, and 2 touchdowns. And Robert Woods isn't going to get angry because the team won.
Exactly.
And so that selfless attitude, I think, is a big-time loss for the Rams.
Right. It's not a physical injury. It's also a mental injury for this team.
Yeah.
And somebody had put out a meme, though, yesterday that was just so fit of Tanya Harding looking over, and that's OBJ's father, staring down saying, yeah, I'm going to get your knee.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. Sorry, Padgy, but that was hysterical just because of the timing. But, I hope Robert Woods heals fast and he goes back to being what he was. He's a damn good ball player.
Yeah, that's the Rams. We'll get into the other news. You should see Odell Beckham play for the Rams tomorrow night, Monday Night Football, against the San Francisco 49ers. The other news is this. Cam Newton's back at Carolina.
Superman returns. He will not play today. That'll go to PJ Walker against the Arizona Cardinals. But Cam Newton is back in Carolina where it all began. So initial reactions to Cam going back to where it all began. To me, I think this gives him a chance to reestablish himself. I think the reaction he said and the words he said is he's still floating that he's coming back. I think he never wanted to leave at all. And he's got to learn a new playbook. He's got a new coach to work with. He's going back to work with DJ Moore. He's going back with McCaffrey. He's got Terrence Marshall now. I can't say that he's going to put up MVP numbers here, but I think he has a chance to really say, they're giving me a second shot on being great. Here's my chance, and I'm going to take it. Especially with the tools and weapons he has.
And my thing is this. I just wonder, I'll ask you this, Mark, because I've been thinking about this, and you could come with your answer, and then we'll bring in our new panelist.
Yes.
Do you think this is a last showcase for him, where he's showcasing himself for a new deal, or is this the end, kind of like, I want to go out to where it all began?
For Cam Newton here, it's a monumental opportunity because, as you said, can he be showcasing himself to get a bigger deal or to go back where he started from? And for Cam Newton to be back to the team that got him to where he was, just to watch him to go to New England and then be kicked out and be back, I don't think this is for him to showcase. I think he wants to be in Carolina. I think he's going to say, yeah, I'm no longer Superman, but I can still do stuff. Let's come up with a deal that works out for not only the team, so he can sign some more weapons behind me, but that keeps me in the starting realm as well.
We welcome in Bill Murphy. Bill, what's up?
Hey, good morning, Mike. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Bill.
Okay. So I want to get this, because there's the meme now going around where they're paying Cam, they're paying the guy to replace Cam, and they're paying the guy who replaces Cam's replacement.
Yeah.
and look, let's be realistic here, because the Panthers were one of those teams in the offseason rumored on Deshaun Watson. Those rumors kind of escalated towards the deadline, even though Deshaun Watson was basically like, I only want to go to one place and one place only. I'm not saying that you should give up on Sam Darnold, although I think there's a lot of people who are going to disagree with that, and that's fine. I just wonder if the aura of Cam, and when I say aura, I mean 2015 MVP Cam, if there's the feeling that he's still that guy, because he's not that guy anymore. He's not that guy. But if he comes in and he does what he's supposed to do, because that Carolina team, you know, with Jonathan Stewart, D'Angelo Williams, Greg Olsen and company, they could put up, 35 a night, but they knew that defense was also not going to give up much. So my thought to you guys is this, and I'll throw it out there. If he plays well the rest of the season, now keep in mind PJ Walker's starting today. He may start next week. I don't know when they think Cam can start. Is this a situation for Cam that he goes, if he's good, do the Panthers consider, hey, we've got really nothing to lose here if we bring him back next year? Bill,
why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Wondering if the Panthers don't have anything to lose. Well, I want to go back a little bit to what Mark said, and I'll tie in what you just said, Mike, if that's okay. I think right now with Cam Newton, him coming back to Carolina, I think you're right. He's not the Superman that he used to be. But I think right now he's going to have a little more wealth to spread, because he's got because he does have more weapons. He has Robbie Anderson. He has DJ Moore. When he's healthy, he has Chris McCaffrey, which is, negative 3% of the time. But
he played last week and he's playing again today.
So when you have now that Cam could spread the ball more to Anderson and Moore and to McCaffrey. I think if he uses those effectively, if he uses those weapons effectively, I think the Panthers could say, hey, you know what? We got nothing to lose. Cam's our guy. And Sam, sorry, pal, you're riding the bench.
This is I feel bad for Sam Darnold. I loved him when he was with the Jets. The Jets just gave him no real chance. I thought this could be a chance for him to restart and he started off hot and then it's just the same thing. There was no protection for him. And the joke is that his shoulder blade fracture is an incomplete fracture. The man can't complete anything. Let's just face it right now. I mean, this is an injury that is hard to come back from. I wish Sam Darnold the best, but this could be the end of Sam Darnold. This could do him in.
I think it's the end of his time in Carolina. I know they picked up the 5th-year option. I'm going to say this, and Cam can play well because I do think this is on an audition for him for the rest of the league. I don't think he's the Panthers quarterback next year just because the Panthers are in the market for a splash. That's what they want. They want a splashy quarterback because that's what they think they are away from contending. I don't know if that's Aaron Rodgers' territory because he wants to go out west. Deshaun Watson, we only know he wants to go to Miami. We don't know if he would go to Carolina.
Or possibly Philadelphia.
There's a whole conversation we could have on that.
Yeah, another day.
At a later date. But the guy to me that makes the most sense for the Carolina Panthers, and Serge, if you're watching, and I know you are, it's Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. For these reasons. One, the front office of Carolina came from Seattle. That makes sense. So he would know them. Think about when Russ first came into the league and what we talked about. That defense was good. We could talk Legion of Boom. The Panthers secondary, J.C. Horn, if they could bring Gilmore back after this year, A.J. Boye, Jeremy, not by the hair on my chinny chin chin. This is a good team. The weapons, you brought up, McCaffrey would be the best running back he's had since Marshawn.
Yep.
Anderson, Moore, Terrace Marshall, who I don't think they've elevated in this offense enough.
Well, he's been a little injured on and off with that quad.
Right.
So
that's a good core. They're missing a tight end, which Tommy Tremble's played pretty well, but he's not a game breaker. And here's the thing. I brought up the defense before the secondary. When Seattle was really good, they had Michael Bennett and they had Cliff Averill, and they haven't been able to rush the passer since. Carolina's got Hassan Reddick and Brian Field-the-Burns. That's just as good. And you're going to a division in the NFC South where I think everyone is on a knee saying, just hoping Tom Brady goes away. That's the hope. Tom Brady will go away at some point. But New Orleans is going to need a quarterback. I don't know if they're bringing back famous Jameis.
Well, the question is bringing him back. The question is he going to be possibly ready next year?
That's the other part. And then Atlanta, who we're going to talk about in a few minutes, I don't believe in the Atlanta Falcons like a lot of other people do. I don't. I will explain in a few minutes. And if you listen to the Wishbone Shotgun podcast, you'll know why. So if I'm Carolina, the guy I want is Russell Wilson.
Makes sense.
And Pete Carroll came from college. Matt Rule, college coach. So it makes some sense.
And since he had Cam, you're going to be running a similar offensive scheme that's going to play to his ability.
At some point on the show, maybe we'll do week 18 or right before the playoffs. We're gonna do like a quarterback musical chairs kind of thing with
That sounds
quarterbacks
fun.
who we think are on the move next year.
Yeah, we can do that at the end of the season.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what happened. Speaking of the Panthers, though, Mark, you said today Kyler Murray's out and Hopkins are both
Out
out.
for the Cardinals, yes, they were just declared out this morning.
All right, so Colt McCoy against PJ Walker. Get your popcorn ready.
Christian McCaffrey versus James Conner because Chase Edmonds is now
No,
officially
Chase
been ruled
Edmonds, he
out.
was put on IR.
Yep.
Very interesting game here with the Panthers and the Cardinals. Panthers need the win to kind of stay afloat. The Cardinals kind of don't have to stay afloat here, but they had a nice win over the Niners with the replacement Cardinals.
Yeah.
See if they can keep it together at home against the Panthers.
And they will have AJ Green. He has been activated for 2 days.
AJ Green. I think Rondale Moore was listed as questionable.
He's still listed
but-
as questionable, yes.
But I think
Wait, Kyler
he's a-
Murray's out.
Kyler Murray and
Murray's
DeAndre
out,
Hopkins.
out. So
Possibility both of them head to IR after this week, and that's going to be the end of the Cardinals.
that would be a rough blow.
Yeah.
Um,
because
also, a Hassan Reddick revenge game for the Panthers.
Yep.
But that game's at 4:00. We're not going to go deep into that one, but Carolina needs to win. The Cardinals have done a decent job. Let's get to today's game. And I brought up the Falcons before because we'll start with that game. We'll start with the Falcons and the Cowboys. The Falcons are 4-4. The Cowboys are 6-3, 5-3,
6-2.
6-2, and they're coming off a
Don't try to
trounce.
degrade my team, Mike.
I'm sorry. With the bye weeks and stuff, I've been getting thrown off. Also with daylight savings, I've been getting thrown off.
We all are.
The Cowboys had a role reverse last week. Usually the Cowboys ride the horse. Last week, the horse rode the cowboy and said, giddy up.
And right where the sun don't shine, too.
So, Mark, I asked Noah this on the podcast. So I'm going to ask you this.
Okay.
And then we're going to go deeper at 30-0. Why on God's green earth is Dak Prescott still in that football game?
To me, was the dumbest decision. Look, we've all seen top quarterbacks have poo-poo days, have really bad days, but their coaches are smart. Aaron Rodgers in the first week was down 38-3, I believe, and the start of the fourth quarter, he was on the bench. That's what you do. You're okay. So Rodgers came out and got his ass kicked. Okay, it happens. Dak went out. Those Cowboys couldn't do jack shit. Zeke being back in, I kind of understood just to show he wasn't injured and wasn't going to need time off. But a quarterback who's coming back after an injury that he had, it makes no sense. See, now I'm going to pass this over to our other NFC, commentator here. Bill, yes. Bill, I don't have a Giants game today, so I don't get to get made fun of tomorrow night. Perfect.
So, yeah, first of all, I just want to say,
Go ahead, Phil.
I just want to say, I'm looking forward to today because I don't have to worry about giving myself a stroke today. But I'm really sorry, Mark. Could you please repeat the question?
Oh, the question is what we were going off of. Just
From our anonymous producer, breaking news.
Sorry. What we were
losing the
going
bye
off of, Mike was making a good point regarding garbage time in the Dallas game last week. Was it right for the Cowboys to play Dak the fourth quarter when they're already down 30-0?
At this point, I say pull. Because at this point, the game is totally useless. You're getting your ass beat. So I would say, why keep them in this game?
Right. And now you got a Dallas team that was, cruising, looking to be 7-1. They're 6-2. Okay, so they took a loss.
Nothing
Today-
to complain about.
Nope. Today they're playing a stingy Atlanta team. And it's going to depend on which Atlanta defense shows up. not which Atlanta offense. The Atlanta offense will be without Calvin Ridley today, and Russell Gage has now been moved from healthy to questionable. So right now you're looking as Kyle Pitts is really the name there right now. Is and you got I think Mohamed Sanu. I'm not sure, but
No, Mohamed Sanu's in
No,
San Francisco.
he's in San Francisco. Other red
You
jersey.
got to think of Zacchaeus.
Yeah,
I can't pronounce his first name, but I'm gonna say Zacchaeus
But
is the
Atlanta's
last name.
offensive pieces for today is going to be rough, and it's a Dallas defense that has to redeem itself. Me as the Dallas fan, and I know Noah, if he's listening, and I'm sure he is going to agree with me on this. Dallas wins in a huge blowout, 42-17.
So here's my thing. You said Kyle Pitts. It's Cordero Patterson for me because he's the Swiss Army knife of the Atlanta Falcons.
They found a good way to use him. I'll give it that. He's had a remarkable year, probably his best yet.
So he didn't play for Dan Quinn. Kyle Pitts didn't play for Dan Quinn. Matt Ryan played for Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's now the Cowboys DC. If there's anyone who knows what Matt Ryan struggles with, it's Dan Quinn.
And this is his opportunity.
So here's the two things that Matt Ryan on the season's been sacked 14 times. That's it. So his offensive line's played pretty well. Cowboys defense has 16 sacks total on the season. Here's the problem the Cowboys are gonna have. I don't think it's much more. No DeMarcus Lawrence still. Randy Gregory was put on IR. So they need to find who's going to put the pressure on. Is it going to be Micah Parsons? Are they going to have to bring extra pressure?
Well,
because
sorry, Mike.
Atlanta is one-dimensional offensively. They don't run the football well. They average just about a little over 80 yards a game on the ground. That's it. They paid Mike Davis from Carolina. It hasn't worked. Cordero Patterson, like I just mentioned, is a Swiss Army knife. But they expect Matt Ryan to drop back 45, 50 times and expect that to win. Yeah. That will not work against the Dallas Cowboys for two reasons. One, your game plan should be to keep Dak and company off the field. And two, and I think this is really important, if something were to happen to Matt Ryan, and you don't wish injury upon anyone, the Falcons are done. Mm-hmm. They are screwed in a sense. And I will explain my theory on why I don't like the Falcons as a whole right now. I have said on the Wishbone Shotgun podcast for the last 2.5 years, really 2 years, the Falcons should blow this thing up and retool the whole thing. They started it with Julio Jones, and I said Matt Ryan should be next. Not because Matt Ryan's a bad football player, but because the direction of the team. The Falcons are 4-4, and I can't speak for Mark, and I can't speak for Bill. I don't think any of us think the Falcons are a quote-unquote Super Bowl contender.
No.
So if I were running the show, I know they pay Matt Ryan a lot of money, but I would move on from Matt Ryan and retool this whole thing around picks. I've got Pitts and Ridley who are young studs, but I got to retool the defense a little bit. I need a real running game to get going. And by that point, maybe Tom Brady is retired and we can move on.
This game, as I said, being the Dallas fan, this is a big revenge game for Dallas, and they need it. However, I've been a fan of Matt Ryan for a very long time. I was so ecstatic when it was 28-3. I mean, and
shout out Andy Jeter for 28-3.
And he didn't get his title. This is the time for Matt Ryan to literally sit and look at his contract and say, I got to do what Matt Stafford did and get with a team that I have a shot maybe doing it in 1 or 2 years at the most. Because his time is almost over.
I'm going to give you the team right now. They're 5-3, and they may lose today based on what we know. Pittsburgh.
I was about to say, you're thinking Pitt.
Pittsburgh makes so much sense for Matt
That'd be a
Ryan.
good spot with him, with Juju and Claypool coming back next season.
Yeah.
And
Najee
also,
Harris.
also Roethlisberger is
Gonna
Roethlis
hopefully
is-
retire.
is-
Yeah.
I will bet my life that I think Roethlisberger is going to retire.
Bad thing to say on a live stream, Bill.
Oh no, that was a joke.
All right.
Yeah.
So I can't speak for Bill. Mark, you say you're taking the Cowboys big. I'm
Big,
going to
42-17.
boys too.
And I'm going to say the Cowboys. I hate to say it as a Giants fan. I think the Cowboys are going to win, but I would not count Atlanta out though.
If this game were in Atlanta, I'd feel a little bit more confident about the Falcons. I just can't see the Cowboys getting embarrassed 2 straight weeks at home.
Now, last week, we talked about Dallas's woes against Denver and Buffalo's woes against Jacksonville. Well, it seems like that was a virus that spread around the league until Thursday, and it hung around on Thursday. The friggin' Miami Dolphins beat the Baltimore Ravens, and Mike needs a glory spot here because he doesn't have one.
I was going to wait till later for this.
I know, but
I'll take it now.
No, I want to give you. I want to get it early. This way we
Okay.
get into our news. But what the hell?
We talked about this on the Thursday night pregame. That was the best game the Miami Dolphins defense has played in 2021. They played, I think it was 38 times I read stat-wise. They played cover 0, which means there's no safety help in the back and everyone's coming in blitzing. The Ravens didn't have an answer for it. And I was so enthralled with the 2021 draft class on Thursday night. Jalen Waddle made a couple of big catches. Jalen Phillips shows up in the stat sheet, played pretty well. And Javon Holland goes from Duck to Dolphin. The kid's going to be a stud. 2nd-round pick out of Oregon. The Dolphin secondary, for at least for the remainder of this year, is very good, with Javon Holland and Brandon Jones at safety, Xavier Howard and Byron
What a
Jones
game
at
he had.
corner.
Yeah, great game.
Oh, the fumble return. If Xavier Howard would just stay happy, not complain about the contract, and the Dolphins can work some things out. I don't expect them to hold teams like the Ravens to 10 points. But if you play like that the rest of the season, this team can make a run. And I wrote in the rundown, I'm a damn fool, and I'm going to explain it right now.
That's why I wanted to get to you.
The Dolphins are 3-7. Their next 4 games are the 2 with the Jets, the Panthers, and the Giants. Those are 4 very winnable games. If you get to 7-7,
Wow.
the Miami Dolphins could be a playoff team.
I didn't know their schedule. That's a distinct possibility. The only game that'll be tricky for them, and I hate to say this, I think the Giants will be an issue.
I think the Jets are a problem just because it's hard to sweep a division rival unless you're the Bills, and then you can just do it because, Josh Allen can throw footballs really far.
Right.
But if you can beat the Jets twice, I think they get the Giants at home.
Yeah.
So if I know Daniel Jones, which I do, I know Daniel Jones very well, he's going to party on South Beach like Odell did with that playoff game before they went to Green Bay on the boat. So Daniel Jones can have that kind of night.
Wow.
If they get to 7-7,
You're going to be thrilled, aren't you?
Thrilled.
Thrilled. I mean, I'd be ecstatic.
I was about to
Yeah,
say he
I
might go dancing
Frank
in the
the
street.
Tank in my
Are we
neighborhood.
going to be seeing videos of you doing backflips if that happens?
No, I can't do a backflip. No, you're gonna see videos of me going Frank the Tank from old school. We're going streaking.
Which I don't want a picture.
But here's you sure?
Yes.
So
Yes.
here's the major thing that has to be proven for the rest of the season. I said it Thursday. I'm going to say this again. For Tua Tagovailoa, the rest of this season is a showcase for him for the rest of the league because he will not be the Miami Dolphins starting quarterback in 2022. Not because I don't want him or Dolphin fans don't want him. It's because they don't want him. And you know, I think Jacoby Brissett got hurt, and then he said, "Oh, I'm good to go." But I think at that point, Brian Flores knew he had to pull Brissett because the offense couldn't do anything. Albeit the Ravens have a great defense, but they weren't moving the ball. Tua comes in. He got some things going. He threw. It doesn't count, but Robert Hunt had touchdown of the year.
Yes, he
I
did.
will argue with anybody because all lineman touchdowns should count, and the referees are just jerks.
Yeah, that was a touchdown.
Not counting.
Oh yeah.
All right. That's
now getting back. Yeah, that's going back old days.
Oh yeah.
Transferring to today, we have a couple other big games.
Oh yeah, we do. We do. Let's start with it. We talk Cowboys Falcons. Let's go to a really interesting interconference showdown, which pits the New Orleans Saints going to Tennessee against the Titans. Now, there's two major storylines for both teams. Derrick Henry, we know, is out. He underwent foot surgery. Alvin Kamara, who has 530 rushing yards, 310 receiving yards, he's out for the Saints, which means it's a Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram's probably going to get the start.
Mark Ingram, a very big reward.
Yeah, Mark Ingram is 20 yards away from being the New Orleans Saints all-time leading rusher. I believe he's going to pass Deuce McAllister if he gets it.
That is correct.
So Mark Ingram more than likely will be the Saints all-time leading rusher. But I want to start this off. We can talk about the Saints in a second. I want to start this with the Titans because I think we owe this to the Titans after last week. And I'm not going to discredit Ryan Tannehill or anything like that. We got to talk Titan defense. They are playing so well. What's up, Bill?
Yeah, I was just going to go off and say last year they were one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Now they're one of the best. They're tied for fifth in sacks.
Tied for fifth in sacks. They're near the top in turnover differential. You know, we rewarded Trevon Diggs Defensive Player of the Year very early for the 7 picks. TJ Watt's obviously going to be in that conversation too. Kevin Byard is making a play. He's got 5 picks so far this year.
And he seems to, be really locked in lately.
Oh, he's played tremendous.
And there's another person, he's on a team that, you lose your star player. So a lot of the other stars, seem to fade out. That's how we got to bring them back, is by mentioning them.
Yeah, so that's the Titan defense, and they've played very well. And they are. I'm going to give Mike Vrabel some credit because I've been very quick to disregard Mike Vrabel, not as a bad coach, because I think Mike Vrabel's a good coach, but you're a defensive guy. Your defense needs to play well. His defense is playing well. This is why the Tennessee Titans enter today as the number 1 seed in the AFC.
However, they just put Julio Jones on the IR. And to me, that means absolutely nothing because they basically have been playing without him anyway. Okay? He was a big signing. I was like, wow, AJ Brown, look at that. That's amazing. And from, the reports, how he showed up to training camp, and you look at his stats on the season, he hasn't been there anyway. So it doesn't matter.
You're right in a sense it doesn't matter, but you're wrong in the sense of why it doesn't matter. The Tennessee Titans sit in 7-2. They're 3 games up on the Indianapolis Colts, who are the only other team that matters in the AFC South because,
And they should win today.
I mean, the Jags and the Texans are lost.
Irrelevant.
I mean, let's face it, the Jags have 2 wins, so I shouldn't be disrespectful. Urban Meyer, Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because the Tennessee Titans, nothing's going to be judged on what they do now. Everything is going to be judged on what happens in January, in the playoffs. And this is why them getting the 1 seed is so darn important. Julio Jones, Derrick Henry can get extra rest before the playoffs. That's huge.
Mhm.
All right. We'll flip it to the Saints for a second. We brought up Kamara being out. I'm going to say this because I picked the Titans on the podcast. I'm going to continue to pick the Titans. This is going to be with no Alvin Kamara, this smells like a big Taysom Hill kind of day.
Oh, this is going to be.
Because someone on that offense, whether it's Taysom Hill, Mark Ingram, they need 2 of these guys, whether it's Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris. 2 of them have to have big games if the Saints are going to win. The Saints defense will come to play because they always do.
Mm-hmm.
They have 18 sacks on the year. Ryan Tannehill's been sacked 27 times. So Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, they're going to come with some heat. And obviously the biggest matchup of the whole day will be A.J. Brown against Marcus Lattimore. And that should be fun. Anything else on the Saints?
Bill?
I think it's going to be a pretty tough game for New Orleans. Because like you said, no Kamara, no Michael Thomas. This is going to be a tough one. And I think, and if we're starting with the picks, I'm going to be honest, Tennessee's going to win this one, hands down.
I think Tennessee
I think we're all on the same page there.
28-17.
This is the game where Sean Payton makes his money. This is the game. I think the Titans win, but if the Saints find a way, Sean Payton is going to be presented a lot of praise by me, which he already does because I think Sean Payton's tremendous.
He's a great coach. Great coach.
Oh, excellent. Oh, phenomenal coach. All right. We're going to go. It used to be a revenge game for Mike Holmgren. It's no longer that because Mike Holmgren's no longer around, but it's kind of a rivalry game in the sense of they've played a lot in the playoffs. And as our buddy Lawrence Patchman Lang would know, replacement refs totally reek of awesomeness during this rivalry.
Oh, look, he woke up.
He woke up from his slumber. We're talking Seahawks-Packers, which features – it does feature, I wrote in the rundown in parentheses, possibly return of both quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks are playing. Aaron Rodgers back from COVID, Russell Wilson back from his finger injury. So let's dive in to this really slowly because I'm going to start with something patchy and then I want you to come in. I don't want to talk Aaron Rodgers for a second. I want to talk about the other side of the ball for the Green Bay Packers because the last 2 weeks, the Green Bay Packers defense has been really, really good. Third down, specifically, the last 2 weeks, the Cards were 4 of 10. Last week, the Chiefs were 5 of 14. They forced 5 turnovers the last 2 weeks. On the season, this defense has a +6 in the turnover ratio. So, Patrick, I'm coming to you. This defense, without their best player in Jair Alexander, mind you, is playing so well.
Oh, they surprised me this year on defense because I've said countless times in a row that I hate our secondary. Because the secondary can be either spot on or more horrendous than a rotten banana. But it's a big step up because they're proving that, hey, our defense can perform under pressure when it's either third down or even trying to stop the ball on fourth down. Like you say, the stats don't lie the last 2 weeks. I thought we would get torn apart last week against Kansas City without Aaron Rodgers. And that only came down to a one-score game. The defense stepped up big time in Arrowhead and showed, hey, we're here to compete. And you know what? We're going to hold you guys from not getting in the end zone. And they did that against one of the greats, Patrick Mahomes. So surprised me immensely the last 2 weeks. I'm happy to say maybe we have a championship defense on our hand if we can wake up the rest of the season and forget what happened last week with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he's woken up because he's going to play today. And that'll benefit everyone involved. Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. The rest
Bakhtiari's back.
You got Lazard back. You got Valdez Scantling back last week. The only guy missing
AJ Dillon, who's been having a pretty good
AJ Dillon. Patchy, I think we talked about this. I don't know if it was last week or in our text. I remember the Arizona game 2 weeks ago, and that last sequence for the Packers before Arizona got the ball back. How down at the goal line, AJ Dillon, who'd been killing the Cardinals defense, how he didn't get a touch, I don't know, but him and Aaron Jones have become very much a big
solid
time formidable duo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, I'll come to you with this because he looks like, to me, he reminds me a lot of Brandon Jacobs.
That's a good, if you wanted to hit it on the head, yes. And Brandon Jacobs was a forceful running back. I mean,
yeah.
And then, I mean, you look at, if you start the season from the beginning, the best running backs on paper were Hunt and Chubb and Pollard and Zeke were really the best. But you have to really throw Green Bay into the mix here because Aaron Jones is a damn decent runner, and AJ Dillon brings the spark that Aaron Jones doesn't have, and he can bust it in there. Plus, he's a good receiver out of the backfield.
Yeah. All right, so that's Packers, and they do get Aaron Rodgers back. We're not going to get into why he missed last week. That's not what we're here for.
We got the detail about that last week on the Sports Insanity podcast. Go check that out.
Yeah. So
shameless plug.
All right. So he's back today. Russell Wilson's back after missing some time with a finger injury. And I'll ask you guys, because to me, I know he got the pins taken out and this and that. I wonder if they kind of rushed it a little bit because the Seahawks sit 3-5. And their season kind of is starting to hang in the balance. Their next 4 are the Packers today. Then they play the Cardinals for the first time. So they make up some ground there. At Washington, San Francisco. That's their next 4. And then they play Houston, which I just chalk that one up as a W. But do you guys feel this way or no?
Russell Wilson had a bum luck in breaking his finger, and I think the Seahawks handled it right, got him surgery right away. They were saying he would have been eligible to come back early, even as of 2 weeks ago, but they held him back a little bit more. Last week, he didn't feel comfortable enough, so that's why he didn't play. And then this week, he felt perfect. You're paying Russell Wilson almost $35 million a year. If you're paying him to sit on the line to not do something when he's saying he's ready, that's a mistake. He says he's ready. Let him do what he's got to do. But you guys made a great point with that. Green Bay secondary has been playing outstanding lately. And we'll see. I truly see this as being a game for Russell Wilson to just go crazy. But we'll see.
Bill, you got anything for this?
Yeah, for Russell Wilson, like I said, or like Mark's. Okay, sorry. Okay, Russell Wilson, who comes back after this injury. The problem is, is he going? How is he going to be today? Is he going to be a little shaky still? Because I think that's going to be a big concern. Just got the pins out of his finger, but is he 100% ready to go?
According to his statement from the Seattle, whatever you want to call this one, the Seattle Journal, I am 90% ready to go. If I feel at any time during the game, I will step out accordingly. So,
well, listen, 90% is all well and good, but I want to ask you this. Yeah, the tables have turned, Mike. I'm asking you guys questions. Do you think unless someone says I'm 100% ready to go, do you think they should, if they don't say 100%, they say like 90%, do you think they should still err on the side of caution?
I think that's his decision. If he feels good enough to play, Pete Carroll watched him in practice. And if Pete Carroll didn't like the way the ball was coming out of his hand, I don't think he's playing today, to be honest with you. That would be the tale for me. If he wasn't throwing the ball well enough, then I'd say
And
Pete
Carroll
Carroll
would probably say, Russ,
one more week and then let's roll. But listen, he's got Lockett, he's got Metcalf. He doesn't have Chris Carson yet, but he's gonna let it go. It is snowing in Green Bay, so we have our first real snow game of the season. I wonder how that's going to affect him. The cold on that finger. Obviously, he'll more than likely wear a glove, but still, that's still going to have some sort of effect on the way the ball comes out.
Agreed.
100%.
I mean,
where this game comes down to for me is turnover differential. Both teams are on the plus side. Packers +6, I mentioned before. Seattle +4.
To me, it's the game of the day.
This is the big game, yeah. This is 425 on probably the Nance Romo game, but wait and see on that one. Let's dive into Sunday night because, well, it's a divisional game, and Chris Collinsworth is going to tell you how much he loves everyone during the game.
The running joke.
He does, and he, I won't deny, he won't deny. We got the Chiefs and the Raiders, so I'm just going to throw some numbers out at you before we get into the game. Mahomes in his career against the Raiders has 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 105.6 quarterback rate. In 6 games, he averages 313 yards per game. Hale and Kelsey, 7 touchdowns each in their career against the Raiders. Flip side it, Derek Carr in his career against the Chiefs, 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, averages around 239 yards per game. So we know who the Raiders are and what the Raiders are. We've talked about the Chiefs a lot. I want to start with the Raiders because they've gone through a lot over the last month. The John Gruden stuff, and John Gruden is now suing the NFL. That we could talk about at a later date. To Henry Ruggs in that issue. To Damon Arnett, who, don't watch that video. And then last week they lay an egg against the New York Giants. This has to, if you're the Raiders, this is one, it's a get right. It's not a get right game because usually that's against bad. This is a game for me, for the Raiders. If you want us to firmly believe in you, you have to win this game. Am I wrong, Mark, when I say that?
No. This is a rivalry that's been going on a long time, the Chiefs Raiders. And it's always been an air game, when you go back to the days of Jeff Hostetler versus Joe Montana, each team would put up 400 yards in the air. It was pretty cool. But losing to the New York Giants, no offense, Bill, was
taken.
was like getting Drano poured down their throats. It was tough to swallow. It was tough to swallow. And
It was fun to watch.
For Bill's point, it was. You're looking at a KC defense that is not anywhere good. They're giving up too many yards. And this is a game where Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller can all go out and have a huge game. The question is going to become is which Las Vegas defense is going to show up. Forget about the KC offense for now. It's the defense that has to stop KC. And KC has not been moving the ball well. Their running game's been inefficient. They're not getting the ball to Kelsey as much because Kelsey's injured. And I don't think they're willing to admit it. His neck is bothering him. Teams are being smart on how they're letting Hill get down the field. So they're having to rely on Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, for these short passes. I think KC loses yet again in this game, and I don't think it'll be by a lot. I'd say a field goal at the most, but I don't think KC wins it.
I think the Vegas scenery is going to be a distraction for them. They gambled too much last night. Hit the casino. What's up, Bill?
I'm going to agree with Mark said because if you look at the KC defense, it's been this year, and Pat Mahomes has been shaky. And and I'll go back to 2 weeks ago when, I as the lone Giant fan here have to say this, but when they were going up against a Giants defense, which can be at best subpar, that's a little concerning. Well, that's more than a little. That's very concerning.
But the Raiders struggled against that same defense.
Mm-hmm.
True. But I honestly, God, think that I'm going to say what you said, Mike, that today the Raiders, if they win this game, they're taken for real. So I think if they get to Derek Carr, not Derek Carr, sorry, Pat Mahomes, brain fart there, I apologize. If they get to Pat Mahomes, get in his head a little bit, I think the Raiders can win this game.
So that comes down to Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue, Carl Nassib against that Chiefs offensive line, which has struggled. The way you beat a good pressure team, and Andy Reid, I think, is one of the smarter offensive-minded coaches. It's short passes, it's screens, it's things like that. They haven't run the ball well all year. And with Clyde Edwards-Helaire being down, I don't expect them to run the ball well today. That being said, you know how you can get Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill involved without going over the top all the time? Screen passes, shorts. The Raiders' corners are not very good. So you can beat them. So if you beat them short, they're going to want to play closer. That's when you hit them over the top. Tyreek Hill, Hardman, Kelce. And this game, I'm pointing to one guy. I'm not pointing to Steve Spagnuolo. I know the Raiders have weapons of Jacobs, Waller, Bryan Edwards. This defense has to come to play. You were good last week, but you played a kid in his first ever start. Show today that you mean something. Show us. Because this is on you, Spags. I think the offense will do its job. It's on the defense to slow it down.
Agreed.
Okay. One last game before we dive into the 5, because we hinted at it earlier. We're going to talk Browns-Patriots. Now, here's the story for these two teams. Both starting running backs are down. Nick Chubb out due to COVID. Damian Harris out due to a concussion, really killing a couple of my fantasy teams. That's a whole nother conversation. Here's the thing. Cleveland averages 162 yards per game on the ground. New England gives up 109 on the ground. So if New England can stop the run of Dearness Johnson, it's going to be on Baker Mayfield against a Bill Belichick-led defense.
It's gonna be a great game.
It should be, yeah.
I
Both
think
teams
Rashard,
5-4.
yeah, and I think Rashard Stevenson is now officially getting the start in New England. He will be getting the start off the at the game, which is good for him because I like what I saw from him in the preseason. It depends on Mac Jones. Mac Jones, as we've seen, can be a good young quarterback. He makes good decisions. The problem is he's not like Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence who can scramble and get out of the way. He's not a running quarterback, really. He's a pocket quarterback. And with no running game tonight, I mean, Jacoby Myers is your number one, but that Cleveland defense is stingy. They're a good defense. So
And
you
so's
stop.
the other side.
Yeah. And this game is going to be like the Bills Jaguars game of last week. I don't see it being better than 9-6 or let's 12-9. I see it being a field goal game.
I'm gonna say that too. If Mac Jones can have a good game, then I think the Pats will be fine. And if that Belichick defense comes forward, you have no Chubb and no who was the other guy?
Hunt. No Kareem Hunt.
And
Yeah,
no,
Damian
Damian
Harris.
Harris.
Sorry.
yeah, no Damian Harris.
Sorry.
And no Damian Harris. If with that Belichick defense, I think
Wait,
the Pats can
Damian
actually
Harris
win.
is the running back in New England.
Correct.
Oh crap! Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's why I thought you meant Hunt. So
Yeah,
And,
I
and
got
also
confused.
no Demetric Felton. So you're relying on Dearness Jones.
yeah.
So I think New England can win this game, but that Belichick defense has got to cover Baker Mayfield like there's no tomorrow.
And with Baker Mayfield and that shoulder, we'll see what he
That's
can do.
also a factor as well. He might just
I
go
think
back to doing the progressive commercials.
I think the factor of this pass rush of Kyle Van Noy, Matthew Judon, I think they can have a day. I think Mac Jones will make some plays. I think Mac Jones is the opposite of a lot of these younger quarterbacks who want to be a lot like Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, the broken plays. Mac Jones is just drop it back, fling it kind of deal. It's not fancy, but it works. It's kind of like Tom Brady. How Tom Brady did. I'm not saying he's an expert. But I like New England at home. I just do. This game was at Cleveland. I'd leave Cleveland. That really is the difference.
But as I'm saying, it's going to be a field goal game.
Oh, it's going to be close. This is. Listen, if who protects better, the New England line against Garrett and Clowney, Cleveland line against Van Noy, Judon.
It's
whoever protects better wins
this
game.
game.
Yeah.
Wins the game.
Be quiet. Shush.
Okay, so now we're going to go into the 5. We're going to go top 5s here. I only have 2 questions. So as of week 10, which is this week, give me the 5 teams, not per conference. This is just general statement. The 5 teams we are most likely to see in the Super Bowl as of right now.
I'll let Bill go first.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. My number 5, and I actually just changed this today because due to a certain injury. And number 5, Mark, I think this could give us a ceasefire because as a Giants fan, I hate to say it. I think the Cowboys. Number 4, the Bucks, because Tom Brady, who is having a record-breaking season so far. Number 3, even though they lost the other night, I think they still have a chance, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. Number 2, the Tennessee Titans, and number 1, the Los Angeles Rams.
Good 5. Good 5.
Mark?
Okay. At number 5, I have the Green Bay Packers. Number 4, I still have a lot of faith in them, even though they're wonky, the Buffalo Bills. At number 3, the Dallas Cowboys. At number 2, I still think there's time for them to capture the West, but after seeing today's report, a little shaky, but Arizona. And then the number 1 team is, to me, the LA Rams.
Okay. At 5 for me, I've got the Bills. I still really like where the Bills are. Josh Allen, the way that defense is playing, I still think the Bills have a legitimate shot. 4, I've got the Titans, and it's only because we talk a lot about this with Lamar and how he has to do it in the playoffs. The same could be said for Ryan Tannehill. I know the Titans ended the Brady Belichick marriage and they were up 10-0 in that AFC title game against Kansas City. Then it went all downhill from there. 3, I think, Patchy, you're gonna like this. It's the Packers. The way that defense is playing right now, if they can play like that the rest of the year with the way the chip Aaron Rodgers has on his shoulder, and I'm not gonna get into that. Number 2 is the Baltimore Ravens. I know they lost Thursday night, but I don't know if there are teams out there who are willing to do what the Dolphins did Thursday night. And what I mean by that is play a lot of cover 0 without them, making an adjustment to it. I know they have a ton of injuries. I'm never going to count John Harbaugh. I'm never going to count Lamar Jackson out.
No.
Number 1's the Bucs. And I didn't put the Rams on here. I picked the Rams to be in the Super Bowl, and I still think they're going. I just couldn't make this list without putting Tom Brady on it because Super Bowl Tom Brady are, synonymous with one another.
Tampa Bay was number 6.
Yeah. I still my prediction for the season was Rams Ravens. I'm sticking with that for now. Okay, second question. Simple. 5 bold predictions for today's games. Just give me 5 things you expect to see today.
Okay, Bill, we're going to let you go first.
Okay. Number 5, Mike White is going to throw less than 250 yards. 4, Russell Wilson's going to throw 300 yards. This one, I don't know if this would happen, but I think it'd be kind of interesting to see if the 49ers beat the Rams, which kind of iffy about. 2, Josh Allen throws 400 yards. And number 1, the Raiders are going to beat the Chiefs.
Okay.
Mark?
Okay, I've said it before. I have Dallas with the biggest blowout of the day at 38-17. Russell Wilson's is going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns today. Okay, A.J. Brown, 8 receptions, 176 yards, and 2 TDs. Yes, mind you, it's not like I know this because I went to the future. I'm doing this as a guess. Carson Wentz has a little bit of a low yardage day, but 4 TDs, and Jonathan Taylor to have 2 TDs at least. And my off pick is Devin Singletary, the Buffalo Bills, to have 100 yards rushing on the ground and 100 yards receiving today against the Jets.
Wow, that'd be pretty major. For me, I'm going to start with the guy we talked about to start the show. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to have a touchdown Monday night. That'll be nicely lived.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
I think the game tomorrow night's in San Francisco or Santa Clara.
Welcome to the Rams.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Let me mess with you. I like having fun.
I like it.
4 quarterbacks today are going to throw for 4 touchdowns. Their names: Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, the Bills' defense outscores the Jets' offense.
I like that one.
Number 2, Jonathan Taylor, over 200 yards on the ground. And number 1, I don't know if this is considered an upset or not. The shocking win of the day. The Minnesota Vikings go into Los Angeles and defeat the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego. And Kirk Cousins goes to Justin Herbert and goes, "You like that? You like that." To prove the Vikings are not dead.
Now, the other big news that we didn't touch on: Big Ben is out this week, so that
Big
means
Ben is out with COVID.
Mason Rudolph takes over. Could Detroit get win number 1?
No,
Oh,
no, not.
I'm throwing it
Najee
out because it was
Harris.
a last minute thought. That's all.
No. I like it. Najee Harris and the Steeler defense can do enough. Rudolph, the red zone reindeer, is gonna find a way.
he's gonna
I don't
find a
know.
way.
I'm thinking they're going to get hocked up today.
If this game was in Detroit, I would say okay, I can see it. In Pittsburgh, I can't see it.
It's tough. It's tough.
Be
I
honest.
picked Detroit to win.
I hope you didn't put any money on that bet.
No.
Listen. I lost money on Detroit when I thought they'd beat Philly.
No.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
It's one of 3 survivor pools left, and I have Detroit, so I've got to use them eventually. So if I'm going to go for the upset, might as well say, ha.
Yeah.
But the Steelers still got Chapel. They still got
No, Chase Claypool is
Chase
out.
he's out.
Claypool,
Oh,
Juju
yeah,
are
he's
out.
out.
Yep. So you're looking at
It's gotta be
Deontay
the
Johnson
Najee
and James
Harris show.
Washington. It's not Jay
Yeah.
Harris, Deontay Johnson, and
Maybe it's possible
Freiermuth.
Detroit can finally get their first win today.
James Washington.
Will Detroit bite the kneecaps of Pittsburgh off? Who knows? But we'll find out when you find out. Hope
Yep.
you enjoyed this edition of SIN Sunday Sideline Report. Check us out every week. Check out the podcast, Wishbone Shotgun, Sports Insanity Podcast, Breakaway Bandits, The Face Turn, and The Throwdown. Check out the website and our blogs, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. For our producer, Lawrence Patchman Lang, Bill Murphy, Mark Halper, I'm Mike Rifkin. Enjoy the football. We'll talk to you next week. Namaste. Again, the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com.